We're here to respond to the allegations made by Summoning Salt. You may have seen Summoning Salt, Super Mario Bros. The Human Limit. I am responding. This is my YouTube response to Summoning Salt. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's just watch it.
All the way back in November 2013, Cosmic submitted one of the earliest 8-4 records. It was quite impressive for the time, and there were even people that thought it might be the closest 8-4 would ever be to perfect.
Well,
even Cosmic himself thought that, titling the video "The Closest 8-4 Will Ever Be to Perfect."
That is true.
That was a bold move.
That is a thing that happened.
But this was a really good 8-4.
It was.
He started off the first room with a fast acceleration, then dashed into the pipe. In the turnaround room, he only scrolled the screen 1 pixel past where he had to do the wrong warp. In the water section, he managed to navigate Mario almost perfectly between the ground and the fire bars, losing just 1 frame on the exit by touching the ground a frame too early. And in the last room, he ran under Bowser to finish it off.
Okay, so let's talk about all that. Let's talk about why I titled it that way. Let's talk about the mindset at the time and lots of details about 8-4 that you probably don't know, and that you, even if you are well-versed in the SMB1 community now, you probably do not know what it was like back then. First and most obvious thing, let's look at the date right here. It was in 2013. That's like 7.5 years ago. It was a much different time, okay? I'm not saying that you should go and claim some level will never be done faster than this unless you, like, can prove it. Things were very different back then. This was a time when people said to save the 8-1 frame rule consistently, you needed to jump into the star block and hold A until you touched the ground. Like, this is the type of information we're working with. That is not how 8-1 frame rule works. We still didn't even know how the star block stuff happened or worked until like 2017. Let's jump into some of the things that are different in the run today. So let me go to my video. The biggest thing that has changed to make improving 8-4 significantly different is this water room, actually. And you might think that's crazy because this seems like the room that has changed the least, and that's true. This room has changed like the least and the most in terms of doing this level fast consistently, and that is right here. Summoning Salt said that I touched down 1 frame early, and that's why I lost time, right? People touch down 1 frame early all the time these days. In fact, if you go and look at the current 8-4 IO record, it probably touches down here or earlier and does not lose time. And that's because there's a secret with underwater where if you touch the ground, you'll drop to walking speed, or like a slower speed than you were swimming, if you're holding right on the controller. If you're holding nothing, then Mario won't slow down as quickly, so you can land like several frames early and not lose any time. So perfect water section has gotten significantly easier since that knowledge. So imagine doing 8-4 ILs and you get all the way almost to the end and you have to land literally pixel perfect before this pipe. Like, people would constantly be losing them on the water section, but instead people never lose it on the water section, really. Let me real quick explain what this video, or what this run even was. First of all, can I just get a little bit of credit instead of getting roasted by everyone for this run? Because was anyone else doing 8-4 ILs or like anything? He brings up the history of 8-4 and he starts with me 2013, and then he goes to me 2016, and then he goes to me 2017. Like, I was the 8-4 history, okay? Can I not get roasted about 8-4 by people who have no idea what they're talking about? Anyway, what I was trying to do here was beat the level with 3:16 on the clock, okay? This is literally the first completion of 8-4 with 3:16 on the timer. 3:16 doesn't mean that you did like the whole level fast enough to get a 3:16. It means you did each room individually fast enough to like get all the fastest game seconds. I don't know how else to say it, but like in the water section, you're always going to like take the same number of game seconds, and even if you enter this pipe like 2 frames after it turns 328 or like 20 frames after it turns 328, that's the same on the game timer. It just will go to 327 once the next room loads. This is the first 8-4 anyone had ever saved this game second and then like finished the whole thing without losing any others. So I get in here at 379, which most of the time you get in at 78, and I barely get it. It's like the frame before it ticks to 78 or whatever. And I saved that because of the fast acceleration at the start. That saves just enough time to save the game second.
Back in 2013, Cosmic was under the impression that a fast acceleration could only save one frame.
True! Like I said, the information we were working with back in the day was just not what it is now. It's not what it was even 4 years ago. This is 7-year-old awful. The meta was not the same, okay? I don't even know where I got that information. Could I have gone on an emulator and tested this myself? Yes, I definitely could have. But there is like not a lot of history of people doing that. And the crazier thing is, someone in like 2003 actually could have had better information than this. But there is such a disjoint in like RTA versus task community a lot of the time. So like even in 2019, we're like 8-2 frame rule, we have no idea how it works. And then like RTA members of the community like Kriller had to go and figure it out. It's kind of weird that there isn't that much like good communication between task community and not. Part of the reason is probably that a lot of them live in other countries, like Happy Lee lives in China. He's just like not around that much. I don't know. We just like did not have good information. Almost the entire reason the 8-2 frame rule took as long as it did. It was just bad information. But especially back in 2013, did not have good information. Basically, here was my mindset when I made this IL happen. I was trying to get the first 316, okay? I think I saved one frame with this fast accel and got like the perfect first room you could ever get, okay? Then I do backwards wall jump. You could still save this game second with forwards, but I went for backwards to make it sick IL. That looks pretty good to me. That might have lost a frame, but did I have any idea like what a perfect wall jump looked like back then or like anything? No. Okay, once again, I'm like the only person doing this. I used to record me doing different rooms to see how fast I could do them, and I had to literally count the frames of my recordings. Sometimes they're not accurate. They'll like drop frames, and I like compare these, and I'm like, why is this one randomly like a frame faster or slower? So that wall jump is like great for the time, at least. I can't tell exactly even now like how good that is. Probably lost a frame. I do this turnaround, and even though that is an extra pixel far, back then I'm not even sure if I could have told you if that was perfect or a pixel far. Now it's like obvious to me, but yeah, at the time I was just like, wow, that was a sick turnaround. Keep in mind, I'm like far and away on the fastest ever 8-4 anyone's ever done at this point. I'm just trying to get the first ever 316, and I'm killing it. Okay, then I get this water, which that is pretty dang good given the circumstances. Even if you watch it back, it's not like super obvious. Like that's easily a perfect water by today's standards, knowing how to like optimally exit. Just like understand everything that went into this, and I'm just getting the first 316 popping off that also every other room was like nearly perfect. Or even in 2013, 18-year-old Cosmic's brain, it was like maybe even perfect. I don't know. Anyway, 3 years later, I beat this time by 9 whole frames. Don't ask how I did that. You can even see in this description, I say 2 frames from human perfection and 1 frame from the human theory task. I don't remember what human theory task that was. Maybe Blubbler made it. Yeah, there was apparently a human theory task at the time that I got 1 frame from. There was kind of like a running gag back then that like, you can keep getting better at 8-4, but you'll never get a perfect one. We didn't know exactly what the perfect one was. Couldn't tell you, but we would always talk about how like, oh, you'll never get a perfect 8-4. That's why this title is this way, because it was like, I just got the first 316, everything else was super sick about it. This is the closest you'll get to perfect. Apparently, based on my recordings, which weren't always accurate and stuff, I found this to be 2 frames from perfect. It's kind of insane to me now, looking back, to say I actually thought this. I don't see someone else doing better. Obviously, we've done like 25 frames better or something. But again, it was just such a different time, and like for the knowledge I had, this really was like super good. And I was the only one doing it. How far speedruns have come would not look anything like they are if only one person was like ever allowed to work on a game, right? And I was basically doing all of this. So this is like what just me was able to come up with. Let me show you this really quick. So right here, we're gonna land, and like, you don't even see a frame of walking, right? He just goes straight into the pipe. Basically, look up here, this E, it just says how fast I did the room, okay? So if you saw D, that would be 1 frame slower than E, and F would be 1 frame faster. Okay, so if I land slightly earlier, you will see the frame of walking, then go in the pipe, and it's still an E, right? Because I didn't hold right, it didn't slow down. Now check this out. If I do this frame of walking, but I am holding right, see the input display down here? Now it's gonna take an extra frame to get to the pipe because that slows you down. And by the way, again, I'm like pointing out all this information up here. Like, yeah, this lets me know how many frames it took to do the room, and there's like a billion things up here to tell you information. Another huge difference between back then and now. So over the years, people have made practice ROMs for various games to help people get good at them faster and like practice tricks and stuff. This one is the earliest one we had. So if you look up there, it says 1-G. If you go full speed and you enter this pipe, it will always say 1-G. Basically, Sockfolder made this ROM to help people learn to get the Flagpole glitch frame rule in 1-1. That 1-G thing is to tell you if you did the underground fast enough. So I needed to say a D or faster. That's A, so it means I was 3 frames too slow. So I know I need to do a faster underground until I get D, like D, E, F, or G. Okay, so now I got 1-D, right? Now I know, oh, that's what a fast enough underground looks like to get Flagpole glitch. In the top left, you see the values that are all changing up? That tells you like what your jump to the flagpole looks like, and you want it to say D70. Oh, so that said AFO. That means that I jumped 1 frame early. This is how useful practice ROMs are, right? And then I flashed. You see how I flashed once I got set up for the flagpole glitch? Sockfolder made this to give you all the tools you need to learn and practice the flagpole glitch, right? This is the earliest ROM that's like this. Not only is it useful for flagpole glitch, it became, almost by accident, as like the 8.4 IL ROM, right? See, so now I'm in 8.4, and if I do this room at normal speed, it's gonna say 8-5. Well, see, I already knew in advance. I'm like, well, I lost a frame. So it says 8.4 because I entered the pipe too slowly. Let me do the fast excel like I did in my video to get the 379 entering this pipe. Dude, how did I ever save it landing up here? It's like so much worse. My 8.4 back then was amazing. Okay, so I get the 379. See how at the top it says 8-8? That means it was 3 frames faster than the 8-5 before. If I had a resource like this, I obviously would know that Fast Excel saves not 1 frame. Again, yes, I could have like tried it on emulator and figured it out, but yeah. Obviously, if I had a tool like this that starts telling me every single frame each time I finish the room, then I know like, oh, okay, if you do this, that made this a frame faster. Okay, now I can count and see exactly what like every perfect room is, and I'm not guessing, I'm not recording and like sometimes dropping frames and like having no idea what actually is the fastest. Also, what was I doing just then when I was trying to get this Fast Excel? I'm like sitting here spamming save states at it, right? You want to know what I did in 2013 to do 8.4 ILs? Whoops, I missed the Fast Excel. Let's try again. Ah, I wasn't good enough. Let's try again. I died between every single attempt, and I was already ahead of the game using Game Genie for infinite lives. But yeah, I was dying between every single attempt at the level because I didn't have save states to practice with. I didn't have a practice ROM to tell me every single frame that I could save. That's not even the modern practice ROM. Like I said, that was the first one. It wasn't even made to do 8.4 ILs. This still isn't even the most recent version of Pelson's practice ROM, which is incredible. Has SMB1 and 2J. You just pick any level you want to go to. You pick what power-up state you want to have. You could be Luigi if you want. You say, I want to start on frame rule like 1220 so I can get specific patterns, and boom. It tells you what frame rule is up in the top left. If you want to see those values that show if you're set up for Flagpole glitch, you set it up. It says what frame you jump on every time you jump on. You can set A and B to be any address in the game that you want to watch, just to avoid any confusion. No one uses this for full game runs. This is purely for practice. But when you do ILs, like, it's fine to use this because gameplay is identical. But anyway, dude, it's just a totally different time. Totally different knowledge. Not only did I not have a lot of knowledge, I was fed a lot of bad knowledge, and did not have the same resources or even save states to make it so much easier to do attempts. So when I say the closest 8-4 will ever be to perfect, I mean, hey, I'm sitting here dying between every single attempt, and I finally got the first 316 anyone's ever gotten, and I did a trick I think saves 1 frame, and I almost got a perfect water section. Maybe. It could even be perfect. I don't really know for sure, because I don't have this specialist ROM to tell me. I don't know about releasing right to make perfect water section free, and I mean a million things. And also there was kind of a running gag of you can't get the perfect 8-4. So when I got this really sick 8-4, that was the first ever 316, I'm going to say this is the closest 8-4 will ever be to perfect. And people will understand what I mean by that. It's kind of funny, because back then it says 2 frames away from human perfection. And right now, the 8-4 IL is 2 frames away from human perfection. So I was right. 2 frames away. It's the closest we're getting. Not actually, they're gonna improve it, but that's funny. Some things never change, yeah.